Hey, good morning. What's everybody doing this morning? You're up early. Just getting ready to have my coffee. Does everybody have their coffee yet? I got a noisy coffee maker. Good morning, everybody. You've mowed 2 lawns already? You're up early. Playboy. All right, coffee's perking, or brewing, or whatever the hell it's doing. We've never really spoken. Coffee is a drug. It's the best one. Well, top 3 anyway. You Australians, you should be sleeping. That's right. Baked Alaska got assaulted in Santa Monica? For what? No sound. There's plenty of sound. Everybody else can hear it, right? Turn up your sound for wearing a Trump hat. Oh, I love the Trump's joke about your mom is gonna vote for me. Radical life extensions in my own lifetime? Yes. I'm already preparing to be turned into software so I can live forever. Oh, vacation's over. It's back to work. Maui's pretty awesome place. Obama's brother is voting for Trump. Yeah, I heard that. Well, I don't know if Hillary's health is worth a line of attack, but it might be a factor all its own. Yeah, it's way too early. I can't believe there are 247.50 people here who... How did you meet Carmen Simon? Friend of a friend? You'll bait and switch the shit out of me. Why does the media fear Trump if he's being killed in the polls? Well, I suppose they want to keep him that way. Now, bear in mind that when you see polls that say something like Trump is down by 5% in some state, he only has to flip 2.5% of the other side to be in a tie. And flipping 2.5% is not a big deal. I think the hypnosis class was something like 2 nights a week for 10 weeks or something like that. Yeah, I don't trust the polls. I wouldn't trust any particular poll, but I think if all the polls are in the same direction, that tells you something. And right now, all the polls are against Trump. Oh, I don't know if I lean globalist or nationalist. Look at every situation individually. Do I weld? Strangest question. I don't. How big of a blowout this is going to be? Which way do you think it's going to be a blowout? The big tech company is working against Trump. Well, you know, it's an interesting thing. If you're a Trump supporter and you're worried about the election being rigged or the polls being rigged or something being rigged, you do have the power to overwhelm that just by getting your friends to vote. Because if enough people vote for one side, it's almost impossible to throw the election. You know, you can... I think the election could be manipulated by, let's say, 2% or 2 basis points. But I don't think... are you visiting me? Are you recovering? Continuing 200 basis points. Yeah. Polls are not terribly reliable individually, but uh, 2,000 Tinder matches. I used to be married. I'm unmarried now. I have a girlfriend. Bum, 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 bum. Am I gay? No, I'm not gay. I'm on social media, news, and politics. What's next? Who is Godzilla? Well, I've speculated that there is someone that I call the Godzilla of Persuasion who joined the Clinton team at some point. And some people have speculated that I'm talking about Robert Cialdini, the author of the book Influence. And he indeed would be the Godzilla of persuasion. So if Cialdini is working for Clinton, that would certainly explain improvements in her poll numbers lately. You're in pain and need some love? Well, we'll have to figure that out. I guess you can't go anywhere, can you, if you're in pain? And what the hell are you doing up so early? How old am I? 59. No, I'm not Godzilla. 590 people on here. I don't think so. Any persuasion techniques? I think I've always tried persuasion. I just didn't know there was a name for it. Is Cialdini directing the media? No, the media is doing its own thing. How should we interpret the huge turnout at rallies? The huge turnout at Trump rallies are a totally misleading signal, I think. Because Clinton is not interesting. So you could have, 75% of the public could prefer Clinton and plan to vote for her, but not have any reason to go to a Clinton event because they already know what she's going to say and nothing's going to be interesting. But when you go to a Trump event, something might happen. He might make some news. It's going to be funny. So I think you have to be careful about overinterpreting the number of people going to Trump events. It would be easy to say that that was more important than it really is. Because he's got the entertainment factor. That doesn't mean that he has more votes. So I have not seen any confirmation about the thought that Clinton wants the debate to be sitting down. And I would be skeptical about that, actually. I tweeted it, but then I didn't see any confirmation, so I suspect that that may be a rumor that's unconfirmed. The problem with all the WikiLeaks is that they tend to be these non-visual stories that people get bored about easily. For example, I think when people are talking about, some country gave money to the Clinton Foundation in return for, State Department access or, being in the front of the line to be considered for jobs, I think people look at that stuff and they go, that just sort of looks normal. None of that seems so out of the ordinary. I mean, nobody's getting killed. It's not a tit for tat. Nobody said, take this money and do this in return in particular. It's just a whole bunch of stuff that bothers you a little bit, but you can't put your finger on it and you don't really understand it. So I think so far the WikiLeaks stuff is a flesh wound at most. To head off the debate debacle, you think it'll be a debacle? For whom? What new kill shot should he be using? That's a good question. So the basic persuasion battle is going like this. I've said this before, but Trump got his big boost by scaring people because fear is a great persuader. it's the best one. You know, if you're afraid of something, you're going to take care of that before you eat, before you look for shelter, before you do anything. You're going to get rid of the fear, the immediate danger. So Trump's persuasion was that the danger comes from outside the United States in terms of terrorists and people taking your jobs and bad trade agreements and stuff like that. And that was a good, scary story, and it did him justice in terms of his poll numbers and success in the primaries. But during that time, Clinton was being boring and talking about experience and policies and her mastery of topics. And that was fine, and it was good enough to get nominated on her side, but it's not a sexy story. And Trump would have demolished her if she stayed with it. But her persuasion game went up. Suddenly it got much better. And suddenly the game got interesting, because this summer, I'm guessing that Godzilla, the Godzilla of persuasion, joined her team. Probably was a Bernie supporter until Bernie flamed out. I can't believe you're talking. I am talking. And so Clinton moved to pure fear, the fear that Trump is the scariest threat to the United States. And that was good, because Trump was saying, hey, beware of these terrorist attacks. And people were saying, yeah, those are scary, and it was really working. But on the other hand, what are the odds that any one person, you in particular, are going to be killed by a terror attack? Even if there are terror attacks, probably you're not going to be killed, and somebody you know probably isn't going to be killed. But when you talk about the fear of Trump destroying the entire country in a nuclear fireball, that's you. That's you being killed. Yeah. So the Trump risk is a risk of you dying. The risk of terrorism is the risk that someone dies, probably not somebody you know. So Clinton has the far better persuasion going right now, because she's got the bigger fear working for her. So if you're Trump, will you be surprised if it's not Cialdini? Yes, I will be very surprised. By the way, it's been confirmed that Cialdini did work on the Obama campaign in 2008, I think. Or was it before that? Maybe it was the first one, I don't know. Yeah, 2008 was the first one, that's right. The Illuminati. You know, I used to think that there was not an Illuminati. And now I still think that there's not one Illuminati. But it does seem fairly clear to me, because I've gotten to meet and talk to more people who know far more than I do, that there might be several competing Illuminati that don't call themselves Illuminati. In other words, I think there are several pockets of power that are not the traditional elected government, and those pockets of power are jockeying for power over the United States and over the world, I guess. So no, there's not one Illuminati, but there are probably several who are trying to be the big influences in the world. Where does Roger Stone fit into all this? I don't know. Should I think he fits into all of it? I mean, we know what side he's on, but beyond that, is there some reason that he's the connector to all that? Teenage boys believe that BS. No, I don't think Tony Robbins is controlling the world. Yes, I would expect you will see some October revelations. We'll see if they're big enough to make any difference, but you can almost be certain that September and October is going to have revelations that you have not yet heard. Periscope is noticeably worse live. Interesting. Hillary's lead has almost vanished? That's not true, unless there's a new poll out. I think her lead is bigger than ever, isn't it? Roger's been elected with every Republican after Eisenhower. Is that true? Roger Stone's been behind every Republican who's got elected. He's never been on a losing side. Is that true? I'll bet he worked for the Dole campaign that didn't win. That's just a guess, though. Can Trump get away with not releasing his tax returns? Yes, he can. So here's my question to you. How much do you care about Trump's tax returns as long as the IRS is happy? In other words, if the IRS is looking at him, and you know they are, and they're not telling him to go to jail or pay big fines or whatever, if the IRS is happy, why do you care? I mean, that's why we have them, right? And if he's literally in an audit, now audits don't look at every single thing. They usually are limited audits. They look at one element or one question. But I got a feeling in Trump's case, they're going to look at everything. Yeah, if the IRS, I mean, you know that there's embarrassing stuff in there. That's just obvious. He either makes less money than you think, or he makes it in ways that he doesn't want to admit, or he does some clever tax avoidance schemes that you wish you could do, that only rich people can do. But you don't have to wonder if that stuff's happening. Don't you know that's happening? I mean, don't you know he's doing everything he can do to avoid taxes? He actually says that. And would you be surprised if it turns out that what he's doing is like sensationally risky in terms of, bending the tax laws to get away with it? And wouldn't you be amazed if he's not doing that? So what would we actually learn if we found out that he's doing everything he can to avoid paying taxes? That would tell you nothing. It would tell you he's like every other person trying to avoid taxes. And if there's something illegal in there, the IRS should be taking care of it. Why is that our business? But let's talk about medical records. Here you've got two candidates that are both around 70. And is there anybody on here who thinks that the best we can do in this country is a 70-year-old president? Can you think of any other job in which you're hiring somebody who has never done that particular job, and you say to yourself, let's limit it to the people who are in their 70s? Would that make sense in any other world? No other world does it make sense to hire a 70-year-old, or to even limit your search to 70-year-olds, basically, which is what we've done now. It makes no sense. So the minimum I would expect, if you're looking to hire a 70-year-old for a job they haven't done before, is full medical records. But here's how I would modify that. I don't think we need to know all the private information from the candidates. So if somebody's got, some embarrassing little skin problem or whatever, we don't need to know that. But I would love to see, let's say, a panel of judges / medical doctors who are the only ones who have access to the records of the candidates. And I would like them to rule on what things we need to know. So if somebody is using a topical anti-itch cream under their armpit, I don't need to know that. So the judges would say, that's just embarrassing information. Nobody needs to know that. But if one of the candidates is on a serious prescribed drug that has real potential side effects, let's say suicidal thoughts, because that happens a lot, right? There are a lot of pharmaceutical drugs which have as a known side effect suicidal thoughts. Do you want one of your candidates for president to be on a drug that gives them, and here I'm just speculating, just because a lot of drugs have nasty side effects, but what if one of them's on a drug that has a suicide risk as one of the side effects? Are you comfortable with that? You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be comfortable with that at all. And you should demand it for both candidates, because they're both at that age where they're all on something. And you can know for sure you don't know what the details are. So no, we don't need to know every detail about Trump's health or Clinton's health, but we do need to know the big stuff. So I think we should have a group of doctors who just agree to keep it private and only tell us the things that they collectively have agreed are material for the voters. And tell me why we don't do that. Can anybody give a good reason why we don't do that? It has a clear national, global interest. It's rational. It's completely, I would say it's safe enough. I mean, I would think that the panel of doctors should first go to the candidate and say, we need to tell the public about these drugs or these conditions in your past. But we won't if you drop out of the race. So at least the candidate would have the option, to drop out of the race if the medical information was so bad they didn't want it released. But if it's so bad they don't want it released and it's material to the voters, too bad. We need to know that stuff. I mean, if it's legal to drug test somebody to drive a truck or, to do a number of, really any number of jobs, it's got to be legal to drug test the people who are going to be running the military. If that isn't the most reasonable thing you've heard today, let me know what is. Constitution is vague on presidential incapacitation. Yes, it is. But you would want it to be vague, wouldn't you? Because ultimately you want human beings to make those decisions. They both dye their hair. I'll bet that's true. We still want a wise elder, 70 years old. No, we don't. Nobody wants that. Polygraphs don't work. They're not reliable. That's why they're not allowed in court. Polygraphs tend to work in the situation where the person taking the test believes they work. So if you believe the polygraph works and you get the question that's the one you have to lie to, then you get all excited because you're like, oh God, this polygraph test is working. It's going to detect my lie. I lied. And then the polygraph test does. It does catch your lie because you think it will. But one of the ways that you learn to beat a polygraph test is by understanding that they don't work. And that's not the whole technique. But if you believe they worked, you probably couldn't beat it. But FBI and other people, they can beat the test pretty easily. Don't tell them about our polygraph scan. Isn't it weird that? God damn it! Isn't it weird that people don't know that polygraphs are unreliable? Hillary's health is becoming a bigger topic. It should, shouldn't it? How in the world should we have two 70-ish-year-old candidates and their health is not topic number one? Do you know anybody who's 70 who's not on drugs? Usually prescribed drugs, but do you know anybody who's 70 who's not on drugs? I don't. How much training to beat a polygraph? I don't know how much training you need, but I'm pretty sure that part of the training is understanding that they're easy to beat. Because if you think they're easy to beat, you can relax and just go beat the test. And relaxing is half of it. We have no other options. Yeah, we're out of options for candidates, that's true. Pinch your asshole on the control question. Yeah, that probably does work. I've heard that. Scott, does aging scare you? It used to scare me more. At the moment, I'm in this weird situation where I'm healthier than I've ever been, while I'm also older than I've ever been. So if you had told me that I could have seen that coming, I would have said, probably no. So I keep waiting for my age to make a big difference in a negative way. And so far it's just been positive. I get more respect than I deserve because of my age. I know more because of my age. I'm looking for the downside of being my age, and there aren't as many as I really expected. But I'm also, I'm not 70 yet, so I don't suppose it gets much better after that. You look great for 80. Thanks. Sex? Sure, thank you. Come on over and give me some. Was that what you were asking? You look healthy. It inspires you. Yeah, I'm literally healthier than I've ever been. I'm 59. 57. I see no downsides. Yeah. Passed the GSA audit. Yeah, not drinking alcohol is a big deal, and not doing the kind of exercises that I used to do, which were all the wrong kind of exercises for a human body. Tennis was terrible. Running, distance, terrible. Do you smoke or drink? I don't smoke tobacco or drink alcohol. Yeah, lowish carb. I mean, I don't try so hard to eat low carb as I try hard to eat well. So I go, young girlfriends keep you healthy. They do. I actually got the Shaun T exercise video Ciz, CIZ for exercise, where you're dancing and exercising. How strong is now that the health question is surfacing? Well, if nothing else came up about the health question, Hillary would be fine, unless she passes out on stage. But my guess is in the next few months you're going to see more come out about Hillary's health situation, and it will not be positive. Do either candidates smoke cigarettes? Not that I know of. Shaun T. Yeah, I've got his Ciz video. Needs a new name. Yeah, so I've said before that I've changed my exercise routine to what I call monkey exercises. So monkey exercises are any kind of exercise. Really? Why are there so many screenshots? That doesn't make sense. So monkey exercises are, it's what I'm trying to do now. Any exercise that a monkey living in the wild would find useful. In other words, functional exercises for a monkey's life. So a monkey would exercise its arms because it's swinging around. So I, use weights and weight training machines to exercise my arms and my core and my legs. So I'm really working at short bursts of energy and using my muscles to manipulate my own body the way a monkey would, pulling itself up, holding a baby monkey, picking some bananas, that sort of thing. But what I don't do is play tennis anymore, for example, because it's a repetitive, artificial action that makes those parts of your body that are repetitively moving sore all the time. So I played tennis for over 40 years, and I was always sore. My arm always hurt, my back always hurt, and I just thought exercising hurts, because every time I exercised, it hurt. So I just figured it didn't matter what I did. Every time I exercised, it would hurt. But when I stopped doing these artificial human design games that are completely non-natural, and started doing things that are natural, such as lifting my own weight, I never get sore anymore. Yeah, tendonitis. Girlfriend had some crazy new moves last night. Sure, better than long work silence. Well, good for you. How many days a week do you exercise? I try to do 7 days a week, but in my way of thinking, exercise is whatever keeps you active. So it could be just, taking a long walk or cleaning the garage, but I make sure I try to do something once a day. Milk? No, I don't drink milk. I'm a little lactose intolerant. Freeze frame. Yeah, I saw Hillary call Trump her husband. Have I ever been with a cougar? Not since I was young enough to think of a cougar as older than me. Right now, a cougar would be younger than me. How often do I walk Snickers? I usually don't walk her. I have a really big backyard, so we go out and play 2 or 3 times a day. Experiment complete. What experiment was that? Jaguars are more attractive. Trump's primary debate performances? Well, they were good enough to beat Republicans. I think he's going to have to step it up to beat Clinton. Really, I inspired you to quit. I assume you mean alcohol. You should try it. Yeah, I think, I don't know if 2 weeks is enough. I'd say I'd try it for a month. But don't try giving up alcohol unless you're willing to, audit yourself every day and ask yourself, how do you feel? And I'll bet you find that after a month, you haven't had any bad days, or fewer of them. How do you develop a sense of humor? I don't think you can. Yeah, alcohol is poison. I don't think you can develop a sense of humor. I think people are born with them or not. A 25-year-old said Hillary is kind of hot. What did his dog say? Get it? Seeing eye dog. What's your stance on cannabis? Usually standing, sometimes sitting. Couldn't even screw anybody without cannabis? How do you become wittier? Practice. I think you have to be witty in general. Should everyone learn hypnosis? Well, then I wouldn't have an advantage if they did. How does space feel about all this? Talk about word order in sentences for persuasion. Yeah, word order. So it's well known that people see the first part of a sentence before they see the second part. So if you wanted to say something negative about Trump winning, it would be a mistake to say what Clinton often says, some form of this. Imagine President Trump as president. He would do a bad job, blah, blah, blah. Our minds see the first part of sentences first. So we'd hear, imagine President Trump, before we'd register if you were in office, something bad would happen. So word order matters because we see the first part and recognize it as more important than the second part. That's the main thing. And then beyond that, the choice of words makes a big difference. Some words just work better than other words because they come preloaded with meaning. Racist being a good example. Is The Secret some kind of self-hypnosis? I haven't read The Secret, but I think, do I get it due to my health problems? Blah, blah, blah. Damn it, what? What about cancer from marijuana? I've not heard of anybody ever getting cancer from marijuana. I heard somebody say once, and I've always thought this was funny, that if marijuana were not illegal and it didn't already exist, let's say somebody discovered marijuana today in the year 2016. Somebody said that not only would it not be illegal, but it might be mandatory because it fixes so many health problems. I think that might be overstating it, but No, it turns out that the mortality rate for heavy pot smokers is identical to the mortality rate for non-smokers. And there's also no evidence that vaping or edibles are safer than smoking marijuana, at least none that I've seen. I haven't done pot in decades. I already did my work. I wrote my cartoon already. I'm just killing time and drinking coffee and getting ready to go draw for a few hours. Did I fail up in relationships? Well, all of my relationships up till now have failed. That's a fact. I mean, every relationship you're not currently in was a failure, right? Vaping is safer than tobacco? I don't know about that. How far in advance? I'm a few weeks in advance. The BBC interview, I think that runs Sunday. I'll get a link. If you're following me on Twitter, I'll link to the BBC article. So I did the BBC interview yesterday, or the day before yesterday, and I did a long interview for the Wall Street Journal that I think runs in 2 weeks maybe, or a week from today, something like that. Is Godzilla not involved in Clinton's campaign? Godzilla probably is involved in Clinton's campaign. I don't have confirmation of that, but based on, why do you touch it in your face and head while on Periscope? Well, I usually lean on my hand, and why I touch my head is because this is fun. If your hair was the length of mine was, these little stubby hairs, this actually feels really good. So rubbing your head is, my father used to do that for the same reason, I think. Do you get paid to do interviews? No. That's exactly right. I'm touching my face to look sexy. How do I pet my coffee? I do rub his head. You know what's even better than rubbing your head? Is having someone else rub your head. It's the coolest thing. Would I help a business grow? I don't know. Would I? Bill Clinton and Monica, it's necessity, because I'm hair challenged. Thank you. You kind of love me. Well, thank you. No, I don't use sugar and cream in this coffee. Do you work for money or enjoyment? I work for money for other people at this point. I've made all the money I need. Think of taking a teaching job? That sounds like too much work. Not enough impact. Do I cook? I can cook, but I don't. Rate Monica Lewinsky on a scale of 1 to 10. I have not seen her lately. Founded ISIS. Yeah, that was hilarious when Trump trolled the entire mainstream media with his statements about Clinton and Obama founding ISIS. And he actually got the mainstream media to fact check that. I use Cliff Bars. What should have Hillary done to respond to the ISIS thing? There wasn't much she could do. The Roger Stone book says he has a 2-inch penis. I don't think that book says that. Yeah, there's probably no MVP award in ISIS. He might have made that up. I think he can prevail. Trump can prevail against the mainstream media. He can, but something would have to change between now and November. If nothing changes between now and November, Trump loses big. But what's the one thing you can always be sure of? The only thing you can absolutely know for sure, things will change. They might get worse. They might get better. But the only thing you know for sure is the next 2 months, shit's going to change. That's the part you know. Literally means figuratively now, yeah. What do I put in my protein shake? I put berries and vanilla protein powder. I put some other stuff like flaxseed in there. I put I put almond butter and vanilla yogurt. I put dark chocolate in there too. That's my secret trick. A little dark chocolate. If you've got strawberries in there. I don't use bananas. Bananas are not the best on the glycemic index. Favorite Mel Brooks film? Well, in its day, Blazing Saddles. Magnesium. I used to do magnesium pills, but I stopped. Am I picky about protein powder? I should be, but I just use one that someone smarter than me researched. Did I watch the OJ series? I did. It was surprisingly good. I did not expect it to be good, but the biographical, historical parts were actually fascinating. Blazing Saddles would never be made today. I think you're right about that. What about B12? Yeah, I do. Actually, that's a good point. I just realized I need to refill my vitamins. Is there a way for Trump to beat the dangerous label? Absolutely. He just has to do interviews and or speeches in which he tells people he's not dangerous. He's never actually said it directly, and he could. Just think about that. Think about Trump's biggest problem is that people think he's dangerous, but they think he's actually dangerous. It's his biggest problem. It's more than his policies, more than his lack of presidential experience. Yeah, you should definitely fake your orgasms. You should do one right now, as a matter of fact. But Trump has never directly addressed the question of being scary. And I can't think of anything that would be more effective than to say, look, I know a lot of people think I'm scary, but here's why I'm not. The government's this big hulking mess of advisors. Things take years to happen in government. Nothing happens in 10 minutes. Nobody ever made it. No president ever made a 10-minute decision. Probably even declaring war after Pearl Harbor was attacked. That didn't happen in an hour. I'm not a historian, but I'm guessing it didn't happen in an hour. Everything is slow motion. It's big rooms full of people deciding stuff. And so for Trump to do something scary in a government that's this big, hulking, slow-moving mess of a thing is almost impossible. There would be so many checks and balances on anything that the president wanted to do. So I think the country probably needs to hear that. They probably also need to hear that Trump is listening to advice. So the big knock on Trump is, even if he got good advice, he wouldn't listen to it because he's this big bullheaded, strong man personality. But he could just point out all the ways that he has taken advice. Take, for example, when he, stepped in it about abortion, and he accidentally said that he believed women should be punished if they seek an illegal abortion. Emphasis on the illegal part. Now, it was probably a reasonable sounding thing when he thought of it, but he just wasn't aware that wasn't even the Republican position. The Republican position was that only the doctor would be punished. And there's a reasonable argument for that. So as soon as Trump was informed what the Republican position was and what the reasoning was for it, he immediately changed his position. So when people say he can't take advice, he's bullheaded, you have these big public examples of where he's done exactly that. Take, for example, his not using teleprompters. All right. As soon as he got Paul Manafort, Manafort presumably said you should use some teleprompters in certain situations, and now he does. So you see all these examples of him taking advice. He fired his friend Corey Lewandowski. That was clearly somebody's advice. I don't think that's something he would have done if no one had advised him. So one thing after another, you see him taking advice at the same time that people say he doesn't. And there's so many clear examples where he has, right in front of you, unambiguously, right in front of you, he's taking advice. And still, we think he doesn't. Do you think it was Ivanka's husband's advice? I think he's got a number of trusted advisors, and Ivanka's husband is probably one of them. Set the bar low so he can surprise in debates. Well, the bar is certainly set low. I would be surprised if he surprises. All right. I mean, it would be the smartest thing to do. It would be the easiest way to win. It would be the one thing he could control. What I'm talking about is, imagine Trump going into the first debate with Hillary Clinton and surprising people at how prepared he is, and how normal he is, and how non-outrageous he is. Now, of course, he's going to be funny and say quotable things because that's what he does. But but I don't think he's going to. He shows no evidence that he's looking to study for the debates. If he does, it's going to blow everybody away. Because remember, he doesn't have to be as good as Hillary in the debate. He just has to be better than what you expected Trump to be. Because if he's just a little bit better, the way our brains are wired is we're going to say, whoa, there's a trend. He used to be terrible at mastering the details, but now he's 25% as good as Hillary, and it was his first debate against her. Well, then let's say the second debate comes and he's a little better still. He went from 25% as good as her to, let's say, 50% as good as her by the second debate. If he gets within 70% as good as her on the third debate, it's over, because people are going to say, my God, this guy can learn, he's taking advice. Those are all the things we were worried about him. But I don't think any of that's going to happen. I think he's going to go into the debate unprepared, and I think she's going to dominate the debates. Can you see the dangers of nationalism? You can see the dangers of anything done wrong. Nationalism is a terrible idea if it comes with America is special and great and screw the rest of the world, and we're gonna take what we want because we're powerful. Then it would be terrible. If your nationalism is a friendly nationalism where you're saying, look, this is a really good way to organize the world. Capitalism works within a country, and friendly competition works among countries. So, our nationalism is going to be a team nationalism, meaning like the Olympics, right? So when the Olympics are on, people show their national pride, and no one gets killed for the most part. It's not Munich in the 60s. So there is a way to be nationalists and not be dicks about it. So yeah, it's totally accessible if we want to. Would I be a fair moderator? Fair is one of those concepts invented so children and idiots could have something to talk about. There's no such thing as fair. Have I read Jonah Goldberg's book? No, I haven't. Impartial? Nobody's impartial. Thoughts on Megyn Kelly? I'm a big fan of Megyn Kelly. I think she does the job that she was hired to do. I think she does really well in the sense that she's engaging and she asks good, tough questions, and she's fun to watch. So, and I think she's far underrated in terms of her intelligence, and I think my calmness is throwing you off. I'll try to get more excited. Yeah, I think Megyn Kelly is underrated because she's attractive. It's the obvious thing. If you're blonde and you're attractive, you're going to get a little underrated. But I believe she's an attorney, right? Didn't she pass the bar? So She's certainly smarter than the people watching her show. Do I have left side neck shoulder pain now? I don't. Pretty girl problems. Yeah, I think there's some bias against Megyn Kelly just for being attractive. But I'm a big fan. I wasn't always. I think the Trump stuff sort of sold me because I thought she did a really good job of how she reacted to the aftermath. I think she nailed the reaction, and that's where I got a lot of respect for her. Trump supporters having cognitive dissonance with polls, absolutely. Yeah, the biggest cognitive dissonance with the Trump supporters is that the size of his rallies is an indication of a hidden Trump support. Now, I think there is such a thing as a shy Trump supporter, meaning people who are not admitting that they'll vote for him and they're not showing up in polls. But I don't think that shows up in the rallies. I think the rallies are big because he's entertaining, and Clinton is not. So I don't think they indicate who's going to vote for anybody. I think they just indicate that he's really, really entertaining. The Bradley effect? I think so. Trump is a Russian agent. No, I don't think that. I don't think people are buying the Trump as a Russian agent thing. There's some things that only work on people who are really watching the news. And those people have largely made up their minds. Is the reason question of debate should be sterilized? You mean checked in advance? Everybody has Russian connections at that level. I've never met Zach Galifianakis. Hillary short circuits? I wouldn't expect that. Now, I think all the Hillary short-circuiting stuff is probably just stuff taken out of context in videos. Boy, everybody's talking to Sweet 4796. You're the most popular person on here. By the way, does it still hurt? Sweet. How's the pain level? You're popular. Bathroom emergency? I don't think so. Look at data sets. What are your news sources? I flip around. The things I look at most are, I sample both CNN and Fox because the news is like the opposite. So it's good to see both versions. But I like Business Insider, and otherwise I'm on Twitter all day and people are sending me links for every random thing in the world. Good morning. Trump's ghostwriter says Trump has a terrible attention span. Most successful people do. I have a terrible attention span too. Wall Street Journal has some good writers. They have great writers. Wall Street Journal probably has the best, and the New York Times have the best writers in the business. Are rich people more interesting? Sometimes. Do you know many Trump supporters personally? Sure, lots of them. Any updates on interview with Trump? No, I don't have anything going on in terms of getting an interview with Trump. Yeah, Periscope is horrible for attention span. You're right. Would you be on Milo's podcast? Does Milo have a podcast? And the answer is yes, I would. Oh, the most interesting person I've met. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I mean, I know, but I can't tell you. One of the things about being a little bit famous, which I am a little bit famous, is that you have access to other famous people. Famous people enjoy meeting other famous people. It's just one of those things. Everybody enjoys meeting famous people, but I guess famous people are no different. We also like meeting other famous people. But you have access to it if you're famous because they're willing to meet you and you're willing to meet them. So if you know somebody in common, you end up meeting them. When's your Rubin report? It's in a few weeks, I think. What do I think Trump will do if he loses? I think that's a good question. I don't know. He's 70. He should retire. Did Don Jr. get in touch with you? No. I think he's following me on Twitter, but he's following lots of people on Twitter. Met Hillary? I've never met her. Have you? When I met Bill Clinton, and by met I mean I shook his hand once. No, I haven't been invited on Stefan's show, at least as far as I know. I'm not good at checking my email. Is John Madden your neighbor? He's not too far away. I see him downtown once in a while. Have you met Trump? I have not. Did you see him speak? You mean Bill Clinton? Yeah, I was a warm-up act. I gave a speech right before Bill Clinton. Friends who know Hillary say about her. I don't know any friends who know her. Some open borders. Would you stay in a Trump hotel? Sure. I heard. I have a friend who stayed in one. He said it was amazing. Did you get $225,000? Or are you talking about the $2.5 billion? How much did they pay you for having a speech before Bill? Well, remember, it was a long time ago. And yeah, so it was when Bill Clinton was president, so that's how long ago it was. What did they pay me? Probably in those days, $35,000, $40,000. I can't remember. I'm worth a lot more now. Yeah, it was around then. Speaking fees were lower. Speaking fees were actually pretty high back then, but everybody's just getting what they can get. I would fetch a much higher price now, so I've made, I've been paid as much as $100,000 to speak for half an hour. Scott, did you see latest polls getting tight again? How late are the latest polls? I haven't seen anything today, but the ones I saw from last week were not especially tight. Thank you for reading my book. Do you carry a gun? No comment. I'm pro-gun, I'll tell you that. The rest, anybody else is going to have to figure out the hard way. Who is the most interesting person you've met? Well, I was saying, like I said earlier, I probably couldn't tell you who was the most interesting because I couldn't tell you, meaning it would be a private conversation. Yes, I was in Bill Maher. Clinton Foundation investigation is underway. Yeah, I don't expect them to find anything in the Clinton Foundation that would be illegal. I've never met David Hasselhoff. Anybody got any interesting questions? How do you get a system to stick? Read the book Habit, Habit, Habit. Marry me. I don't think your sister would like that. Am I a fan of anybody? Ever met Noam Chomsky? I haven't. He'd be interesting. Am I a fan of anybody? Not really. Is Maher the same person off camera? I didn't talk to him off camera. I mean, I think he said thank you. We shook hands, and he had to run off for something right after. You get paid for only 30 minutes? Usually, if I give a speech, it would be between 30 minutes and 45 minutes by design, because longer than that's boring. And then often you have, if you're a speaker at my level, this is not true of every speaker at every level, but at my level, I would usually agree to a VIP meet and greet, meaning that there would be 20 to 30 important people who either donated money or were important to the organization, or they were important customers for whoever's giving the event. And you just have your picture taken with them in a little room before or after the speaking event. So that's a typical commitment. Explain cognitive dissonance regarding ISIS founders. You mean the comment about Obama and Clinton being founders of ISIS that Trump made? Well, the cognitive dissonance point is that if you believe that Trump says crazy things and he's just stupid, then you would think that when he said that Obama and Clinton were founders, quote, founders of ISIS, that he actually believed it. If you thought he was stupid, then you thought he believed it in some literal sense, like, they were the charter members and they put together the paperwork and started signing people up in front of the Safeway store, I guess. So the media actually fact-checked it. Like, he must believe this, so we better fact-check it, which was hilarious, because anybody who thought Trump was smart, and I'm in that camp, I think he's smart, knew he was just speaking figuratively, meaning that ISIS grew during the Obama administration, and so it was like he was a founder, meaning he was important to their growth by existing, I guess, and not doing enough to stop them. So cognitive dissonance is the word that describes that. When you're so wed to your own worldview that you think that must be true, even though the evidence is right in front of you that it's not true. Have I used hypnotic powers to get out of a traffic ticket? I've never gotten out of a traffic ticket. If you're a male of a certain age and driving a certain level automobile, there's nothing you can say. You're getting the ticket. Do I understand the blockchain? Conceptually, yes. How is Hillary anti-gun but selling guns in the Middle East? Yeah. I usually don't get involved in the gotcha hypocrite criticisms because they're just not creative and they're not fun. Why in the world are people taking screen pictures? That doesn't make any sense. Right now I'm driving a BMW X5, several years old. I hate buying vehicles. You may know that already. I'd love to keep my current vehicle until there's self-driving cars, but I don't think I can keep it that long. Is persuasion a fully learnable skill? You have to have a certain level of, I'd say, verbal acuity. You have to be smart, otherwise you can't learn anything, I guess. California for Trump? Doesn't look like it, according to the polls. Seriously, can somebody tell me why there's so many screenshots? Is that just like a programming error? Hillary would destroy the Second Amendment. No, she won't. Steam it? I haven't seen it. It's my phone glitch. Oh, is that you doing that? You're screenshotting accidentally because you got a phone glitch? Is that what's happening? Camera icons are a glitch. One person doing screenshots. CNN has now grasped that Trump says it will be cheating on the election. Don't you think there will be cheating? Oh, so it's you. It's you. Penn and Teller had a good argument. There's no argument for the Second Amendment. So here's my problem with anybody who says, we should or should not have a right because it's written in the Constitution. Things are written in the Constitution, yes, but the other thing written in the Constitution is the mechanism for changing the Constitution. So the fact that something is in the Constitution and is written very clearly means nothing. I mean, it means something in the short term, of course, because you have to obey the Constitution. But in the long run, we can change it. So the only question is, what do we want the Constitution to say? That's the only question, because we can change it. It's very, very hard, but we can change it if it means enough. If guns were killing 10 million people a year instead of tens of thousands, which I guess it is, if it were 10 million, we would just change the Constitution. We would just do it tomorrow. Steam It is like Reddit without censorship. Oh, so Steam It is a comment board kind of a thing? I don't have an opinion on Abenomics. Natural rights? There's no natural rights. That's not a thing. Nobody has a natural right. They have a natural want. The Peter Thiel effect? Not that I'm aware of. LA Times had Trump within 1%. Let's wait a week or two. I was thinking the same thing. It does seem like the mainstream media jumped the shark when they started fact-checking whether ISIS was founded by Obama. Are there such things as rights? Yeah, there are rights. There are legal rights after we make a law. But there's no rights before there's a law. That's not a thing. A right is something given to you by law. And if the law doesn't say it, you don't have it. It's as simple as that. Natural rights means a person owns himself. Yeah, man, that's great if you're having a philosophy discussion over a couple of beers, but it doesn't mean anything in the real world. It just means you want to have, natural rights are something you want. It's not something you have. You only have it when the law gives it to you. Or the law doesn't take it away, one or the other. And he didn't. I don't know what that means. No, I don't have any recommendations for a hypnosis course. I don't know which ones are still around. Yeah, it's word talk. It doesn't mean anything. Natural rights. Yes, I recommended the book Habit. Did you have issues with media smear before? Well, I've been attacked by the media, of course, viciously. Put up on the screen now. Still talking about system being rigged. I don't know if that's enough to attract Bernie voters. Why would the media attack you? They attack anybody who writes anything in public. There's always somebody who doesn't like you. Sometimes it feels Trump is giving up. Yes, I will agree with that. It does look sometimes like he doesn't want the job. And by the way, I didn't think that in the beginning. The Salon attack on me was unhinged, yeah. Huffington Post, Salon, Jezebel. Because Junior doesn't want the job? I don't know about that. Why aren't Westerners worried about Islamization? Well, many of them are. I think politics is reforming itself. Power of Habit. Oh, yes, I meant The Power of Habit by Duhigg, yes. How does Trump's ego handle being far behind? Nick Denton and Gawker. Well, Nick Denton and Gawker are having a tough year. Gawker's bankrupt. Nick Denton is embarrassed and shamed and running, I guess, as it should be. He's a horrible person who's done horrible things to other people for money. And if you do horrible things to other people for money, well, you deserve what you get. So, Denton is scum of the earth. If there were a death sentence for doing what Denton did, I wouldn't be unhappy to see him killed for it. Is it objective? No, the media is not objective. Trump is driving Clinton policy? Maybe in some ways. Is Sharia law a threat to Western civilization? Yes. Do you think Trump's role has helped to change the base? No. What's too harsh? Death to Denton? Is that too harsh? It really isn't. No, Gawker came after me. Gawker came after me, and for that, death. He also published child porn. Yeah, revenge porn. Is not cool. How can you invest in my startup? Well, you'd have to be a accredited venture capitalist first. How did Gawker come after me? Oh, they've come after me several times with articles claiming it's always they just take things out of context. I think they've claimed I hate all women or something like that. And there's cognitive dissonance for you, because how many heterosexual men hate women? I don't know if I've ever even met one. Right? Do I hate my sister and my mother? All my female friends? Do I hate my girlfriend? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know anybody who hates women. How long do you sleep? Depends. Last night, 4 hours. Crowd investments? Yeah, that's not impossible, but we'll probably just do the normal venture capital thing pretty soon. We're in deep testing right now for the startup. I know, even if we try to hate women, we can't do it, because it's just not, biologically, we're designed to like women. So, what's the name of what? My favorite musical band? I like Young the Giant lately. Imagine Dragons. Women are too delicious. Yeah, my ex-wife is one of my best friends. She works for me. So I don't know what women I'm supposed to be not liking. They can sexually use women without liking them. They can if they're sociopaths. But your problem then is not that you're a misogynist. Your problem is that you're a sociopath, right? So that's not really exactly a sexist. But men are designed so that their attraction to women makes them like them mentally as well as physically most of the time. I mean, a woman would have to be just sort of terrible if you could have sex with her and not like her a little. I mean, no, I don't sleep with my ex. I divorced because we didn't like being married. He's not. How does my knowledge of persuasion fit into your art? Well, it's in all of my writing. And in the design of the Dilbert comic strip, one of the tricks I use, one of the hypnosis tricks, is I don't give Dilbert a last name. You don't know what company he works for. You don't know what town he lives in. You don't know what product his company makes. His boss doesn't have a first name or a last name. And that's hypnosis. The hypnosis part of that is if you leave, by leaving Dilbert open for interpretation, it allows people to fill it in with what they like best. So people look at Dilbert and they say, hey, that's just like, anyway, I lost my train of thought there. I've never had a threesome. I don't know why people want threesomes. How many of you have ever had a threesome? I'm admitting I never have. All right, is anybody here? Is there anybody here who's ever had a threesome? You had a fivesome? 3 times. Overrated? It's great. I did. It was horrible. Overrated. See, that's what I think. It looks like it's overrated to me. Not the cool kind. You had a few, caused breakups. Do I use coasters and do I respect wood? A few onesomes. Yeah. Threesome just sounds like a problem. Just sounds like a lot of work. Thanks. A lot of opportunities. You tell your kids not to get married. I got laid twice once. I'll tell you more about my startup when we're ready to let everybody try it. Yeah, you don't want to cross swords. Do I plan to have tours like Tony Robbins? No, I don't. Am I a fan of Larry David? Yes, I am. Well, thank you. I'll tell you the name of my startup when we're ready to publicize that. What happened at your interview? Well, it went well. You'll see the interview. I'll send out links. I'll tweet links when they're available. So I've got a few interviews coming up. Playboy interviewed me. BBC interviewed me. In this case, the BBC refers to British Broadcasting Company, not what you're thinking. And the Wall Street Journal just interviewed me. So those are all yet to be published. New software will be for, we'll have an app for both platforms, which we're testing right now, but there's a cloud-based part of it that's important. Thanks for reading my book. So Calendar Tree was the original startup that's still up and running. People are using it and they like it. But the new startup is a far larger vision than Calendar Tree. Can monogamy be sustained without contracts? Well, it's a verbal contract. Is America heading in the right direction? Probably. Most favorite publishing company? Well, anybody who's published my books. If Trump does what you expect at the debates, then can he win? Not because of the debate. If he does what I expect, it will just be his usual performance. All right, good to see you. I don't meditate as much as I probably should. All right, I gotta run. Thanks for listening. I don't know why you listen. I never do, but thanks for listening. See you all of you later.